This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be riding on the back of frogs. They're going to be jumping from stone to stone and flower to flower. We're going to be in water, over water, hopping over other frogs. And that's what we're doing, because today we're taking a look at Frogriders. This is a 2 to 4 player game. It's a family style game, similar to say checkers, but more going on. I call it gamer checkers. And it's from Stronghold Games, and this is a good family game. So let me show you how this game's played, and then I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the Frogriders, everyone is going to get a score marker and a player aid that tells them the 2 things they can do on their turn, and they're going to get 2 secret goals for the end of the game. For example, for every 2 frogs that you have at the end of the game that are red, you'll get 5 points. There's 2 of these cards in the game. For 1 of each color of the set, you'll get 5 points. 2 of these cards are in the game for other people might have them. And you're trying to do these secretly. No one else knows these. And frogs that you use for this set can also be used for this set. They can be used basically for every scoring card in the game. Now here's the board set up for a 3 or 4 player game. Frogs will be on every space except the center. And there's different amounts of the different colored frogs. If you're playing with 2 players, certain frogs will be removed from the game. And the outer ring of leaves that are darker will not be filled in. And at the top, we'll go over some of the cards there. And here's what the frogs look like close up. Got some good detail on the faces there. There's some profile looks as well. Now on your turn, you can do up to 2 things. You must take a frog and leap it over another frog 1 space. This space has to be empty that you're leaping from. You'll then take the frog that you leapt over and put it in front of you. Then, optionally, if you want to, you can take any frog that's in front of you, place it into the village to get a special ability. This is optional. You can do it on frogs that you already have or the one that you just got. Now when leaping, you can only leap in a straight line, and since this yellow petal is the center of the board always empty, there's literally only 4 opening moves. You could jump there, you could jump here, you could jump here, or you could jump here. So let's say I do this. Let's say I jump over here, and I take this, and so I will take the red frog because that's the one I leapt over. Now that's very good for me because if you remember my private goals that no one else would see is, hey, every pair of red I'll get 5, and it can also be used as a set to build this set for 5 points for each one at the end of the game too. Now I have an option to turn in any frog I have in front of me, including this one, into the village and use its special ability. Just to show you how this works, let's do that. So I'll take this red frog and I will place it in this village. It's a beautiful artwork and design here. I love this little village where all the frogs will hang out. Hey, it even has a bar. So I place it in here. Depending on the color frog, I'll get a specific ability. For the red colored frog, anytime you place one there, I'll get to take another jump action immediately. So I can take this one here, jump this, and get a yellow frog for instance. Now when using that red frog's ability, I don't get to then swap this in again. You just get an extra jump. It'd be the next player's turn. But let's say on a subsequent turn, I end up picking up a brown one, and I want to turn the yellow one in. The yellow's abilities, I can place a frog here from my own personal stash and take any other frog that's there. Maybe I wanted that red one. And yay, now I get that red frog that's great for me for my private scoring. If you ever place a blue frog back into the village, you'll get to take one of these privilege cards. Now, also, everything I've been telling you about these special abilities are clearly marked on the board. They're easy. And by the way, the browns, you can never turn them in for anything, but they're just worth a point at the end of the game. Now, these privilege cards, there's different types. Like this, for example, for every brown, you'll get an additional point, which means for every brown at the end of the game, you'd have 2 points per brown frog. Now, this tells you how many cards there are at the end of the game. This one is anytime you jump onto a flower petal, you'll get a point. You'll notice that a lot of these spots have flower petals, and anytime that you actually, when you jump, you land on one of those, you'd get a point. This one says you automatically will get 2 blue frogs to go towards scoring at the end of the game, but it's -2 points. This one gives us a special move ability, which I'll go over in just a moment, and it will give you 3 points. And when you take one of these, it will get replaced from here. Now what that allows me to do is run up through empty spaces and then leap over one. I really want this red frog because that's my secret goals. I can have this one run all the way up because it's empty and then jump and then take. And this stays with you the whole game. So those movement ones are very powerful. And by the way, there's other moving types where when you leap, you can take the frog you leapt with instead of the one you leapt over. Here you can jump diagonal. Here you can jump in sort of an L-shaped. And here's some others like, hey, does nothing, but it gets you 4 points. If you have the least amount of these cards, you'll get an additional 5 points. You'll get 2 points regardless. For every 2 of these privileged cards you have, you'll get 2 points. Hey, if you have the minimum amount of frogs in front of you at the end of the game, you'll get an additional 3, but you'll get 3 anyway. And that's how these cards typically work. And this continues until the last move is taken, like let's say someone does this and takes this, and there's no legal moves left. It ends immediately. So at the end of the game, everyone is going to flip over their secret cards and add their points. This was, hey, a pair of these get me 5 points. It's 5, 10, 15 points there. This is a set of each of them will get me 5. That's a red one, and there's all the rest. So that gives me another 5. That's 20 points. Plus each of these are worth 1, 21, 22, 23, 24. Then everyone would look at the 2 public goals that were on the board at the beginning of the game. Now these are different. There's many cards and they're double-sided. The white side is the family version. The blue side's a little bit more combative and a little bit less friendly. Like for instance, every pair of these, now I can use the same frog. So I have literally 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of this. So that's 8 more points. And whoever has the max of blue and yellow is not going to be me. He's going to get 6. If it's tied, then each will get 3. And so those, you'd add those up as well. And whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, well, there is Frogriders. Well, first, let me talk about what I liked about it. The frogs are cool. I mean, it's a cool theme. You don't see it too often. Seeing the miniatures of the frogs that I showed there in that overview, they're detailed very nicely. And so they're cool. I think the whole idea of that was an interesting thing. They're nice and bulky and heavy. As you move them, they feel nice in your hands. So the frog was a cool theme idea, and it was implemented well, I believe. This game is what I call high on my depth to complexity ratio. This is a ratio I use that say, okay, so how simple can a game be, but yet have the most interesting decisions? So if you can make a game more simple, yet have it more complex decisions or more tough decisions, that's my favorite sweet spot. So the less rules you can have, but the more depth, the more decision making, that's excellent. That's my depth to complexity ratio. So how deep is it versus how complex is it? If it's not complex but very deep, excellent. If it's very complex but not very deep, that's the opposite. This one is very simple. It's not complex, but I think that the decisions here are great. Now this isn't a deep, huge Euro game, but it does have some good decision making. It's a very tactical game. Getting into the tactics, this game is, I'm calling it gamer checkers. I mean, essentially it's like you hop over it if you've ever played checkers, and I love how certain designers, publishers are bringing back games that are essentially gamer versions of other things. You know, a while back we saw Gamer Bingo with Augustus, and recently we saw, and even Gamer 49 a little bit. We've seen Gamer Candyland with Cartagena, and you know, different things of that nature, and now we're looking at gamer checkers where, oh yeah, simple, I just hop over here and I take the piece. And then you add to that all this interesting, decision making, which is which one should I take? Okay, well, what do I want to do with that? What are my private goals? What are the public goals? What are the privileged cards out there? What colors am I trying to get? How many are left? There's a different amount of each of them. So it is basically checkers, but there's so much more wrapped around it that it's so easy to teach. Have you played checkers before? Most everyone has either played it or knows about it. So it's easy to teach. And I think it's a good deal of decision making in there. Now I like the variable setup. Every game is going to be different. There's going to be different frogs in different places to start. There's going to be all different privilege cards out there. There's going to be all different public goals, and there's going to be all different private goals. I really like how you have a very different feeling game each time you play. Now, I also like the ability cards, how those change the strategy and timing of the game. For example, one of the cons I'm going to mention later, we'll get to it a little bit further, is the powerfulness of some of the movement cards. But depending on when those come up, it can really change the feel of the game. You know, if there is a good powerful movement card out there, people are going to be rushing to grab and jump over a blue to then now put that blue frog in the village and be able to take that card. But if they're not there and you're getting through the game, then people might want those cards, but they might not want to get one of those in fear that the next card that comes over is going to be that, and the next player might be able to get them. So it's interesting how the ebb and flow of the game changes depending on what cards are out there of the abilities. I thought that was a super interesting aspect of every game feels different because of some of the powerfulness of some of those cards. Also, this game gets better with multiple plays. After the first time I played it, I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. What's next? Played it again, I'm like, oh, this is getting more interesting. Played it another time, like, whoa, okay, we're seeing some different things here every game. It was after exactly the 4th time I played this game that this game is now going to get a saxophone serenade, because there's so many different things that happen. Some of the things that I've mentioned to you about the differences of the games, the differences of how they feel when those powerful cards come out. And really, it showed me that there's more depth here than first look. So if you're gonna play this game and you play it once and you just thought it was okay, give it some more time, because this is one of those ones. Now, not all games do I feel like get better and better and better. Some of them feel the same each time. Some of them actually get worse as you play them. This one I was like, lukewarm on at first, but then after multiple plays, handfuls of plays, I like it more each time. And so it's one of those ones that grew on me. So let's talk about the things I didn't like. The setup. It was a pro that the setup is great because it's different, but it can also be unbalanced. And if you have 2 public gold cards out there, one that say a pair of red, right? And then the other one says, hey, whoever has the max of like red and blue. And then you have a private goal that's also, you get points for pairs of reds. You could have a synergy that nobody else has with those public goals that gives you, I feel like, an unfair advantage after playing this many times. So I don't like that. So I've just remedied this by saying, hey, look, if there's a public goal that is a pair of a certain color and another one that's that color and one other color, shuffle that second one up until you don't have the same color 3 or more times out on the public goals, and at least that tries to help it a little bit. It's not completely done, but it at least made me feel better. The games didn't feel as wishy-washy in that regard. Also, the movement cards, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like they feel overpowered to the point where when someone gets one of those movement cards, if they're the only player in the game to get one of those, that player has won every game. And I've had a game where all of us has gotten them, and the games move very fast and it's still even, but I've also felt like in a game where everyone has got one of those cards, the game wasn't nearly as interesting, because I think the crux of this game is knowing how people can move and knowing how to trap and how to think ahead and go, well, if I go here, then that's not going to benefit them, but if they do that, it will benefit me. But when they have those special moves, it kind of throws all that out in the water, and it becomes less about the tactics and the strategy and more about, well, I have so much freedom, I can pretty much do anything. I think it's better for younger players so they can kind of get to know, but for the people that are playing it competitively, I think they're too powerful. Now, I leave them in because, again, it does make things interesting where if someone's always gunning for it or afraid to flip a card, it does bring in an aspect of the game that actually I liked. But you just need to be careful because I think they are too powerful. But overall, I loved this game after many plays of playing it, and did so much that I'm going to be keeping in my gaming library. So let's induct it properly with a saxophone serenade.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.